Hello everyone, and welcome to the conclusion of the Samurai 7 retrospective. Having finished our extensive look on it, I just would like to summarize my final thoughts on the series and why I think it's a great one at that. Now, as always, we're going to start this little conclusion video with a few housekeeping notes that I felt had nowhere else to go. Now, again, this series has a lot of tertiary characters, which, while interesting, I don't really necessarily have time to cover or dedicate videos to. Amaro was interesting as Ukyo's adopted father. He did try to raise him the best he could. However, as someone with a flawed moral compass, the definition of best is not necessarily the morally best. There's Kikuchio's older man, Masamune, who's implied to have cyberized him and comes off as a nice father figure for him, although he doesn't really do that much again. There's other tertiary samurai, which serve as city enforcers, who, while cool, don't really do that much or necessarily have the most screen time. Of these, Tesai had the most, and was actually really cool. I like the twist that he was actually super competent, and it was also funny when he gets one-shot by Kuzio. However, again, these characters are kind of background characters, and therefore don't necessarily justify a video of their own. Then there's the character of Kamachi, Kiara's sister. Now, I've already kind of touched on how Kiara's character development is flawed due to a lack of screen time, and Kamachi doesn't necessarily suffer this. Her character is pretty consistent throughout the series. However, her character is also pretty tertiary throughout the series. She doesn't really do that much aside from recruiting Kikuchio, and always just kind of serves as a comedy character in the background who lightens the mood when things might get a little tough. That's not necessarily to say that she drags the series down, it's just to say that she doesn't necessarily do that much in it. Although, again, she's a child, so I'm not saying that she needed to have a drastic impact on the battles, because that's not necessarily the most realistic. She's just a child doing child stuff in the background, who, again, as a tertiary character, doesn't necessarily impact the story that much, and so didn't warrant a video or much mention on her own. Kamachi is kind of placed into a comedy role that she doesn't really escape from, and doesn't really do much other than elicit laughs. I also kind of struggled with the theme video component of this retrospective, as I felt there was only really one theme with this series, and that was the grim nature of battle and violence. So I decided to put all of the theme component kind of into that one video, as I feel the other themes were kind of dispersed throughout the series, or not nearly as important as that one. Of course, we can learn a lot from 7 Samurai and Samurai 7. It's just that I felt that theme video was the one that really stuck out to me, and I feel that it does deserve to sort of stand on its own. Anyways, for my thoughts on Samurai 7, having completed my first watch-through of it relatively recently, my first complete watch-through, I will admit I was a bit skeptical on how well an adaptation of a classic movie could be made into an anime. Knowing that the movie was only 3.5 hours long, I wondered how they could come up with a good 26 episodes of content and keep it both entertaining and loyal to the source material. I was very happily surprised though when Samurai 7 managed to add things to the story to keep it moving and interesting while maintaining the core of it to show true respect to the source material of 7 Samurai. I find that all of the characters, while different from the source material, are still very likable and endearing, and, with their additional screen time, also a little bit more fleshed out in many cases. I find that the original core tenets and morals of the story are the same, however, and that the same human impact is still there. An impact of people going through tough times and struggling through violence and struggles, sometimes emerging damaged, but emerging stronger nonetheless. The true impact of the old movie has been combined with a beautiful new set of paint, with a beautiful new OST, with a beautiful new set of secondary stories to develop our characters that we've come to know and love. I find that it is an excellent fusion of both source material and new additions to said source material to create a sort of beautiful hybrid of old and new. It is something which has a newer appearance, it's animated, it has some CG, and it's futuristic, but it maintains its roots in the past, lovingly serving to portray the morals and the human side of 7 Samurai, all the while connecting to the past of Japan itself. It is a letter and labor of love to both the future and anime, and the past, and the work of Kurosawa, like 7 Samurai. It is a beautiful masterpiece. With that being said, it is unfortunately time for the next retrospective. Now, of course, this will be decided by poll, which should be up at some point, and in the meantime, I'm going to be working on some one-off videos. I appreciate your views, and for those of you who have subscribed or subscriptions, again, this is just something I do because, well, I need something to do with my time, but I really do appreciate all the time that you've given me. And I thank you for that, and I hope that you enjoy more productions from this channel. and that I hope that I can continue to make productions for as long as feasible, so that we can continue to revel in some great, obscure anime memories.